You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Boo signing on.
Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Giannouloudis, and the last couple weeks, guys, we've been having some great guests on the show. And if you don't know her yet, you got some videos to watch. Guys, we have Andrea Urciuoli back on the show. She has dove into so many topics with us under the umbrella of mindfulness, manifesting to pursue something better in your future. And today, guys, we have a topic for you that if you've watched any of the Once a Week videos throughout the past almost a little over 3 years now, the topic of rewiring the mind is in every single one of those messages to help us rewire our mind to pursue something better for whatever the topic is at hand. When Andrea came here today, we had different topics to talk about, and we scrapped every single one of them because we dove into this rewire the mind topic, and we figured there's so much power there and there's so much help there for you guys that we wanted to make it today's topic. Andrea, thank you so much for being on the show and diving into this topic with us. Welcome.
Thanks, Billy. I appreciate it. Happy Sunday morning. This is our spot, 9:30 sharp. So we were laughing earlier. Rewire. We have to slow down when we say rewire. Rewiring the mind. It sounds metaphysical. It sounds weird when you have to stop and think about rewiring. So it's rewiring the mind is actually equivalent to saying cleaning up your childhood past.
Okay.
Cleaning up what you think you are.
Yeah.
So you think you are your parents, you think you are your childhood, you think you are the environment you grew up in. When all of that is absolutely untrue.
Yeah.
And we're reading the same book, Dr. Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural, and the other neuroscientists' research and mindfulness research absolutely proves that cleaning up your foundation, cleaning up your past is equal to rewiring the brain.
Exactly. And rewiring the mind, to me, is like we're built on so many different foundations as we're growing up. Like you said, like you touched on, childhood. But if have a childhood moment or experience, or just like it could be something that we experience in teenage years, whatever it is, when we go through something, our mind becomes connected to it. Whether that's a tough experience where we have anger, sadness, whatever, anxiety because of it, whatever it is,
Right.
our mind becomes wired like that. So as we get older, we may forget about that experience, but our mind unconsciously doesn't.
It's still there.
It's
still it's called stuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the power of rewiring the mind is when you can actually take time, focus on what caused that, what did that, how you act now. That gives you the power to unhinge it,
Right.
rewire it the way you want to,
Yes.
and then act out what you want to. That's got power behind it because, like I say in all my seminars, like I say in all my videos, your mind is the universal tool. It can do anything, it can create anything when you put your mind to it. So if you can rewire it to what you want,
Yeah.
undoing what's been there before to create more power in your life, more energy, more strength to move forward, what are the possibilities?
So, all right, so undoing, we'll start with that. So think of a place, think of a time, place, maybe you were 5 years old, and you remember your parents were fighting about money. This is an example, hypothetical. You remember you were 5, you heard a conversation, you were playing with your toys, and your parents were saying something like, money doesn't grow on trees. We can't do that. We don't have that. Our neighbors have that, but we'll never have that. All you need, 5 years old, you're like a sponge. You just need to hear that once or twice, and it's stuck.
Yeah.
Then something else happens. Then something else happens. Whether I don't know, your mom lost her job, there was divorce, or something to a child was traumatic.
Yeah.
Well, that stays with you.
Yeah.
That is stuck in your DNA and it becomes toxic. And it's not just maybe that'll happen to him or her. That is what happens. We are our past.
Yeah.
Until we decide that we are not that and we are not our past, and until we, what was that word you just said? Like you clear it or clean it, you have to clear it.
Yeah.
So Dr. Joe Dispenza and abundance expert Christy Marie Sheldon, who works with all these great neuroscientists, actually say you need to rewire or clean up the past and strengthen your foundation.
Exactly.
And strengthen your foundation means if you have these, I'm going to say it, energy blocks, where you didn't feel loved as a child, you didn't feel supported, you didn't feel that you could make these decisions, or you weren't financially stable at home, that sticks in your energy field. I don't even want to call them chakras, I'm going to say energy fields. It stays there in your core, and it makes us sick.
Yes.
And when we stop and say, okay, I am aware, I understand it, let me write about this.
Yeah.
That's the journaling. When we start to write about, this is what happened when I was 6 years old. I remember those conversations. It made me feel sick. It made me feel unsupported. And it made me feel scared, fear. I felt like a victim. All those things that you and I always talk about, the emotions that are not elevated, they're lower emotions. They call them like below the belt, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that when you are aware, the first thing is becoming self-aware, then you can start to clear. And this may sound a little out there, but I love Christy Marie Sheldon. She'll just tell you to stop. Take a big, deep breath, sort of visualize you hugging yourself at 5 years old, and you start to have these moments of clarity like, you know what, that was the past. That is not my destiny. That's not my future. When you start to clear it, that's when your brain starts to calm down, and we can go into the rewiring process, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And like what you just touched on, that imagery right there of, or metaphor, whatever you want to call it, of going to your five-year-old self at this age. I use that intervention with my own clients where if I can tell that there's something there that's stuck there from when they were a kid, they may not realize it yet, but through the process of our sessions, they come to it a little bit. An intervention I use is the same thing, where you create in your head a moment where your 5-year-old self was hurt by whatever experience happened. And because of that, they grew into that experience. But if you, as a person right now who's like 35, whatever it is, and you go back 30 years here in your head, hugging and appreciating that 5-year-old self, the 5-year-old boy can't grow into the man that you are today unless they're healed.
Yes.
So you have to heal the boy to become the man.
Yes.
And to touch on even more about what you just said when we were on the mind, the clarity aspect is so key. And clarity becomes strength. So if you can go back to these situations, and rather than that still becoming a moment of pain in your life that you grew your life out of, clarity is when you can look at that situation now that you're older and find the strength that's hidden in there.
Right.
And when you can find the strength that's hidden in there, you get clarity from me. I'm actually stronger because I went through that.
Yes.
I found out the true power. My spirit's on fire because you know what? That pain didn't stop me. That suffering didn't stop me. I have the power to change this if I can make a decision with it right away. I don't want to say right away. That's not true. It takes time to come to that decision.
It does.
But that's clarity. With what you just touched on with elevated emotions, that's a key point that I wanted to make sure we talked about because that affects us on such a drastic level. Now, with that clarity topic, the pain you go through, the suffering, the fear, whatever it is, in Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural, he actually labels all these tough emotions that we experience.
Yeah.
Guilt, fear, anger, shame, suffering, victimization, pain. And those all are at such a low level for us.
Yeah.
But if you go through that experience when you're younger and you grow into that, they're in there.
Yeah.
They're in your mind. They create everything for us. But you also have elevated emotions. Love, joy, bliss. See, everything else Dr. Joe Dispenza labels down for us because every single one of these is just so much power, freedom, appreciation, gratitude, will, power. All of that is innately in us. If we can act out those elevated emotions, that heals all of the negative emotions I just mentioned. These elevated emotions are at our disposal, but how often do we actually act on them?
Right, so to get there, I got take right off from that.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Run with it.
Okay, so to get there, you just said hugging that little boy or that little girl. That is something. That is actually in therapy sessions. It's called inner child work.
Mm-hmm.
It's going back to your inner child. We all have that inner, visualize you actually hugging that little boy or that little girl. There is work out there that you can go to an inner child specialist out there,
Really?
which I think you could do it on your own. I'm one to honestly, you could Google it and figure it out. You just get your notebook and your journal and you remember certain ages that were traumatizing. I might say, okay, bing, light went off. 5 years old, or 8 years old, something, 15 years old, 26 years old. Like if you can have these little red alerts of situations that I remember that made me really scared. I remember that made me really sad.
Yeah.
That's your inner child. That is not who you are today.
Yeah.
That is your past. That is why
Exactly.
mindfulness work is you living in the present moment. But to get to the present moment and erasing the past and not thinking about tomorrow, to be in that state of clarity, supporting myself, knowing myself, loving myself, you have to clean out what you thought you were. You have to clean out the fact that I thought that I am a victim of this.
Yeah.
I am a victim of scarcity, and I am a victim of a divorced family, and I am a victim of abuse, or I am a victim of whatever it is. You're not.
Yeah.
Because you've made that decision. It was a situation that you went through.
Yep.
You could be in a situation in 20 minutes
Yeah.
at the grocery store. That
Yeah.
doesn't define your life.
Yeah.
That's a situation. These are all but we take it. It's how we react. And Dr. Joe, this is profound work. Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the higher the reaction to trauma.
Yeah.
This is how the higher the reaction to trauma, the longer it takes for it to heal. The lower reaction to a traumatic experience, the easier it will be to get rid of it and to be more confident and strong. And that to me was key.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why he says to digest, don't make this reactive. If something happens to you, don't overreact.
Yeah.
And the softer you are, the more mindful you are, it's quicker to get through that trauma.
Yeah. I believe
That makes sense,
no,
right?
Oh, 100% believe that. And if you think about overreacting to a situation right when it happens, usually makes the situation worse.
Worse, yeah.
Usually does.
And
So-
it sticks in your brain, your DNA, and it's gonna prolong
Exactly.
this thing.
Exactly. I see that in sadly so many people where we go through these traumatic events, whether it's a kid I'm seeing or an adult I'm seeing, we go through these traumatic events. If we don't take that step by step, a lot of people decide to just put that on the back burner of their life and just go in their life, and that's always innately there. So with what we're talking about, Rewiring the Mind, is to take a second to I'm talking like a moment. You don't have to dive into all this stuff at once, but you got to start to break that off a little piece by piece, kind of like you're saying, like digest it. Don't make it worse. Just go for one moment at a time. And when you can do that, you come to new answers, but you come to a new you.
Yeah.
And I think it's the you were always meant to be, because that's where our strength's found. But if you let this traumatic event hold on to you,
yeah.
just stay there and have a big piece, but you never look at it,
Yes.
that affects your life more ways than can be. And you could always be sitting there like, why does this keep happening? Why?
Why me?
And yet, because you never looked at a situation that actually happened and you just let it be there, it's been affecting your life every single moment.
Right.
With that rewiring the mind and these elevated emotions and everything, looking at them from a different light, there's so much power there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also press upon the topic of these situations are not happening to you, they were happening for you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
who was brought up with just a silver spoon and everything's great? Even if you were brought up with a silver spoon, there's still some life learning thing. There was still, this was given to you, but maybe that was taken away.
Yeah.
And this is all to strengthen our souls.
Yes.
And our minds and our hearts. And to come to the place, this is the work that I love. This is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. To come to that place of clarity and creativity.
Yeah.
I love when they use this word. We need to get whatever you're going to do for your life, living, family, you have to become creative, right?
Yeah.
You need a plan.
Yeah.
But to get to the plan, to get to the creativity, it isn't going to happen until all the brain waves are calm
Yeah.
and settled, and you have a solid foundation.
Yeah.
It's going to take longer, they were saying. Not going to happen. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, yeah.
I'll take that back. It's not going to not happen if you put it out there. It will happen, but it could take years.
Exactly.
Right?
And I love that. And you touched on it where, yes, it's the mind, yes, it's the heart, but the spirit's at our core, and like you just touched on where at the end of this, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks on it and everything. Everyone we study talks on it, where your spirit's at this, and these elevated emotions, the personal experiences we go through. The elevated emotions, the love, joy, bliss, freedom, whatever one you choose, it shines light into those dark moments in our life. And like you just touched on, where this stuff happens for you. Life happens for you, life doesn't happen to you.
Yes.
And if you take that and run
I
with
love
it,
that. That was a big one for me.
Yeah.
Like when I first heard that a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
this is not happening to you. We'll keep saying it. It's happening for you. And I'm like,
Exactly.
I get it.
Yes.
I got it now.
Exactly.
And it hurts and it's uncomfortable.
Think about freedom.
Oh, right.
Truthfully, if you want to look at that, if you can understand the fact that life happens for you, it doesn't happen to you.
To you.
That unshackles you.
It does.
That's the freedom.
And you want to run.
Exactly. It unshackles your soul, to be honest.
Yes.
Your mind, your mind becomes unshackled,
Yes.
it's like, all right, what could I do? But if we get stuck in these past traumatic events, we get stuck in these past moments where we can never break out of them, we're always chained down. And if you're chained down, you can't run that far.
Yes, the shackles. That's a good one. And that's how you rewire the
Exactly.
brain. That's how you get to a place of
Mhm.
elevated emotions. I mean, I've been asked recently, why are you so happy all the time? You've got all
Yeah.
this stuff going on. And I'm like, I just am.
Yeah.
Everything always works out for the best. I will figure it out.
Accept it.
It is already out there. And
Yeah.
because I know who I am.
You're free. Exactly.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. You're
Yes.
free to live your life. But you know who you are because you went through those moments to find out who you are.
Yes.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what happens for you. And exactly what you just said. Someone always said to you, why are you always so happy?
Yeah.
I get that question more often than
You
not.
do, I bet you do.
And I remember experience moments where people, it's like, why are you so happy? And like, I'll just sit there and I'll be like,
They don't want you to be happy, Billy. No.
people get upset over it.
Yeah,
I'm sitting
yeah.
there, I was like, why are you upset that I'm happy?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be happy because someone's happy?
Yeah.
But
Not
that
everybody.
exactly it. A lot of people get stuck on the fact of their outdoor environment. Your spirit is conflicted by the outdoor environment and the situations that you go through, and that freedom aspect that we've experienced because we take hold of the fact that life is happening for me, it doesn't happen to me. That freedom. So whatever goes on in the outdoor environment, all right, I get it. I had a rough day, but it's gonna work together.
Yeah.
That's trusting it, like we touch on in a lot of our videos, trusting the process as you're going through. Trusting it gives you that freedom, it unshackles it, takes the weight off your shoulders. It's kind of like you're choosing a new you, a more powerful you. But if you hold on to what occurred in your life, these situations that would make you unhappy, the traumatic, you continuously look at that, it doesn't just conflict your heart, it doesn't conflict your emotions, it conflicts your spirit and your mind. And when that's conflicted, you can't act on who you're meant to be. You got to build yourself back up. And that's why we talked about the elevated emotions, because it builds you back up, and that's where you find your peace.
Yeah.
That's where you can walk who you're meant to be. That's where you can act on what you want to do, helping people in all your extraordinary ways, or just living the life on your own terms.
Right.
Because you can act in it.
Because you can act in it.
But you got to unshackle the spirit rather than letting it if you conflict on everything else that's happening in the world, if you can focus on all the negativity that's happening in the world, that seeps into you. And when it seeps into you, it affects you, and you start living out in all the low emotions that we mentioned earlier. That's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
It's not. No.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
in conclusion,
Yeah.
just rewiring the brain is diving into the past, not labeling it, acknowledging it. And it's sort of people don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So this is not, it sounds logical, it's all logical work.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable work.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a few clients that looked at me and said, not a chance. I am not writing this down.
Yep.
I'm not going into my past. That is too painful. Well, I hate to tell you, it will stay in there and it'll stick in you.
Yeah.
And I actually, there's a guy that takes my class, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And he will not go to the journaling level, he will not go to that place when he was 7 years old, and he does suffer from sleep deprivation and a few other ailments because he can't go there. And I did tell him, and maybe he'll come to this realization soon enough, because you can't grow from that. You can't go to the next spot.
Exactly.
The pain will be there because you have to kind of feel it. They're saying feel it, acknowledge it, and release it. And I know that sounds weird and hokey. It does release.
Yes.
If you say, I feel it, I remember that day when I was 5. Oh boy, that hurt. That was not comfortable. You'll feel it. You could feel it in a clenching in your stomach. You might feel a tightness in your neck. You might even get a headache. I used to feel it in my upper chest, like just, like a little tightness. But once I softened, I acknowledged it, and I sort of did I'm going to say this, breath work, in through the nose and out through the mouth, just like in my yoga practice. My yoga practice got so incredibly awesome, and my Pilates work, all of that started to get better and better and better because I infused it with mindfulness and breath work. Everything got better.
Yeah.
And when I felt that level of pain, and I'm like, ooh, it's a 9 today. But then 2 days later, it was like a 7, and then it was a 4, and then it was a 2, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
It didn't take that long.
Exactly.
That's the rewiring.
Yeah.
You just clean it out.
Exactly. And I love how you touched on it too. A lot of people don't like to go their path. They don't like to go to these situations because I'm not going to go to that pain. We're not asking you to go there and stay there. I think that's what people get tripped up on. We want you to, people accept it's like, oh, I can't go back there because they think they're going to stay in that pain. I'm not going to tell you to go stay in your pain. I'm going to go tell you to use it.
Yeah.
If you can use your past to create a better future, your limitations are gone.
Yeah.
And that's what the Rewire the Mind process is. That's why like I told you at the start of this video, every one of my videos is trying to help you rewire your mind in some better way to help you run with it. And guys, if you're in the area, the West Bridgewater area, on April 20th from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., I'm holding a seminar, Rewire the Mind, a self-improvement and self-growth training.
It's awesome.
It's one of I've been doing it around the area. If you guys are able to go, I hope to see you there. We're going to touch on this. We're going to dive into the mind to help you create a better life, and not just a better life, but the life you were meant to live.
Right.
And that's the best part. Guys, I love this message. I hope it helped you. I hope you run with it. Look up the book, Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Run with the information. Take it and run with it. Andrea, I thank you so much for being here today and just diving into this topic of rewiring the mind. Yeah.
And one more thing to close. If you want those elevated emotions that Billy spoke about, the support, the bliss, the love, you got to start feeling it.
Yes.
Prior to it doesn't come later. You have to feel it before. You can have it without the car, the house, you can have it prior, go within. When you start to shift and feel it and get rid of all the lower vibrations that don't serve you well, when you start to feel glimpses of that, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
The better continues. It
grows
and grows and it gets larger and larger. Therefore, the brain is rewired. You're able to be more creative. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea, for being on the show.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Right. Take care.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made.